So, hello students. So, the next topic to discuss here is sampling theory. Now, as we know, the digital signals or the digital systems are more compact, lightweight, and easily programmable. So, continuous, for the purpose of processing of any continuous time signal, we first convert these signal into a discrete time signal. Let's say we have a continuous time signal x of t, then we first convert this signal into a discrete time signal. Let's say this is the envelope of the original signal. Then after the process of sampling, we obtain a sampled set of values of the same continuous time signal xt, which can be drawn in terms of the sampled values. And the samples are taken over the fixed interval of time, and let us call it as the sampling time period. Let's say this fixed interval of time is called Ts, and Ts is called the sampling time period. Right, and this resulting signal is xn. Now let us discuss one method of sampling which is known as the impulse train sampling. Now, what is impulse train sampling? What we are doing here is we multiply the continuous time signal xt, the same signal, let's say that we have considered here, with an impulse train signal pt to obtain a sampled signal xpt. And what is pt? So pt is nothing but a train of impulses. This is the signal pt, and let's say the signals are present at fixed time interval, let us call it as ts. Now we are multiplying the same signal with the continuous time signal xt, keeping in mind that we are interested in the sampling of the continuous time signal for the purpose of digital signal processing. So let me again draw the signal xt. So let's say this is the signal xt, and let's say this is the signal pt. Whose time period is given by ts, right? Now what we are doing for the process of impulse transforming, we are multiplying these two signals, then on multiplying these two signals, that is xt and pt, we obtain a resultant signal xpt, which is so if we write mathematically, so xpt will be given as xt multiplied by pt. We are taking the product in the time domain, and since pt is a train of impulses, then we can represent pt mathematically as summation of del t minus n ts, where n equals to, where n is an integral value minus infinity to infinity. So then we will obtain a train of impulses at time interval ts. Now by applying the property of delta function, as we know, for any continuous time signal xt multiplied by, let's say, a shifted version of the impulse xt naught, it will give a resultant signal xt naught t minus t naught. That means any signal multiplied by a shifted delta function will result in a delta function with a weight xt naught. Applying this property, now xpt is given by xt multiplied by pt, and pt is nothing but xt multiplied by summation of n equals to minus infinity to infinity delta t minus n times of ts. So applying this property, we can simply write it will be x n ts summation will be taken this side del t minus n ts, where n equals to minus infinity to infinity. As you can see here, by the method of impulse train sampling, the signal xt has been represented as a train of impulses at, at time interval ts with a weight which are the values of xt at the point nts. What is xnts? The value of xt at the point t equals to nts. Now since this is a sequence of values, or you can see, this is a, now it has been converted into a discrete time signal. Finally, we can write this product as, let me draw the envelope of the continuous time signal. Now it has become a discrete time signal. Whose sampling period is Ts, which is the time period of the impulse train, and the signal is xpt. Let's say this is 0, this is Ts, this is at the point 2Ts, 3Ts, and so on, minus Ts, minus 2Ts, minus 3Ts, and so on. So this is the method of impulse train sampling. Now what does the sampling theorem states? Let's move on to the point, sampling theorem. Sampling theorem gives you a condition under which one can perform the sampling of continuous time signal. Right? The first important point is sampling theorem is applicable for a band limited signal only. Very important point. What is the, suppose we have the signal xt and let's say xt, let's call it xt as band limited signal. Since xt is a band limited signal, then let's say its Fourier transform its Fourier transform is band limited. Let's say x omega is its Fourier transform with value x naught at origin and let's say the maximum value of the signal is omega m. Now since this is a band limited signal, then for a band limited signal, the signal exists at frequencies omega less than omega m, right? You can take its mod value, mod of omega less than omega. So this is the condition for a sampling theorem to be applied. The signal must be a band limited signal. Let us again move on to the same sampled signal. The obtained sampled signal from xt is given by xpt, which is summation x nts delta t minus nts delta n equals to minus infinity to infinity. And what is xpt? It is the product of xt multiplied by pt. Now using the multiplication property of Fourier transform, we know if a signal is multiplied in time domain will result in the convolution of signal in the frequency domain. It will result in the convolution of the signal in the frequency domain. And let's say p omega is the Fourier transform of pt. Now a pt has been represented as now as we know pt is a train of impulses pt is a train of impulses whose time period is ts. Now since has a fundamental time period ts, then it is a periodic signal. Now as we have studied earlier, for any periodic signal, its Fourier transform for any periodic signal its Fourier transform is given by, let's say for pt, its Fourier transform is p omega is given by 2 pi times of summation cn into delta omega minus n omega s, where n equals to minus infinity to infinity and omega is 2 pi by ts, the frequency of the continuous signal, and where Cn is the Fourier series coefficient. Let me write it here. Fourier series coefficient, right? And for the for the train of impulses, Cn is given by 1 upon Ts. You can find the Fourier series coefficient of Pt by the formula for the Fourier series summation. We will not derive it here, we will simply write it the Fourier series coefficient as 1 upon Ts. So simply we can write P omega, which is the, let's say, the Fourier transform of Pt is given by 2 pi times of summation Cn delta omega minus n omega s, where n equals to minus infinity to infinity will be 2 pi upon summation 1 upon Ts delta omega minus n omega s will be given by 2 pi upon Ts summation delta omega minus n omega s. This is it. Once again, using the multiplication property, which states that this xpt, the multiplication of two continuous time signals in time domain will give convolution of these signals in the frequency domain. So once again, then we can write, let's say, xpt as a Fourier transform, which is xp omega, which is given by the convolution of 1 by 2 pi, and 1 by 2 pi convolution of x omega. X omega is the Fourier transform of xt convolving to p omega. And just we got p omega, which is given by 1 by 2 pi x omega convolving to summation of 2 pi by Ts into summation del omega minus n omega s, where n equals to minus infinity to infinity. Now 2 pi cancelled. All we get is x omega convolved to 1 upon Ts into summation del omega minus n omega s, where n equals to minus infinity to infinity. Now applying the convolution property of delta function, we know that any function xt when convolved to delta function t minus t naught, a shifted delta function will result in x t minus t naught. So this is the convolution property. Of the delta function. Applying this property here, you can simply write, so this is xp omega. So on applying the convolution property, we can write xp omega as 1 upon Ts summation x omega minus n omega s, where n equals to minus infinity to infinity. Finally, if you closely observe this signal, you can see this is the shifted form of of the signal xt in the frequency domain. That means we saw earlier, this is the x omega, which is a band limited signal, specifically band limited signal. Then this is the shifted form of the x omega at various values of n, and where omega s is the sampling frequency. So we can write, we can plot the signal xpt in the frequency domain, which is given by xp omega, capital xp omega, which is the summation of the band limited signal, the shifted band limited signal, scaled by a factor ts, right? So now since this is the band limited signal x omega, and this is the summation of the shifted values of x omega, omega m minus omega m. So we can plot the same as this is omega m for the value of n is equal to 0, plus minus 1, plus minus 2, and so on. Omega so omega m, this is the shifted value, right? So this will be x naught upon ts, because the signal has been scaled by 1 upon ts. So let's say this is x0, and this is omega m minus omega m for n is equal to 0, and for n is equal to 1 it will get shifted by the sampling frequency omega s. This will be omega s plus omega n, omega s minus omega n. Similarly, this will be omega s, and this will be 2 omega s plus omega m, and similarly this will be 2 omega s minus omega m. Similarly, this will be minus omega s minus 2 omega s, this will be minus omega s plus omega m, this will be minus omega s minus omega m, and so on, minus 2 omega s plus omega m minus 2 omega s minus omega m, and this is the resulting sampling of the signal in the frequency domain. What we saw in the time domain, the signal has been represented as a discrete time signal, but the same xpt, when we observe in the frequency domain, it will be the shifted form of capital X omega, that is the same signal, right? So this is how we perform sampling of the signal, right? Now, suppose we want to reconstruct the signal. Let's say reconstruct xt back from its sampled values. Now, after the processing of signals, or let's say we want to use the signal for some another purposes, we want to reconstruct the signal from its sampled value. That is what we did. Initially, what we did, this is the continuous time signal. We multiplied this signal with an impulse train to obtain the resulting discrete time signal xpt. Also, this is a continuous time signal, but still this is a discrete time signal, but still we are writing with a representing in the continuous form just to maintain the uniformity. Now, this is the sampled signal. Sampled signal. Now we want to reconstruct the signal. We want to reconstruct xt. So we will apply a filter here. Filter can be any system to obtain, let's say, xrt. So if for efficient reconstruction of the signal, reconstruct the signal, the actual signal, xrt must be equal to xt, because we are interested in the reconstruction of xt back from its sample values, right? How can we do this here? So if we observe the signal, the sample signal xpt in the frequency domain, which is given by xp omega, we can find the signal. We can see this is our signal scaled by a factor ts, right? So if you apply a low pass filter here, then we can easily recover the continuous time signal. So let's say we apply a low pass filter whose cutoff frequency is omega c, right? So what we will do? The signal will actually be a low pass filter, and let's say with cutoff frequency, let's call it as omega c. So with the help of low pass filtering with sufficient or reasonable cutoff frequency, we can finally reconstruct the signal back into its original form. Once again, consider the same sampled signal. Once again, let us draw. Let's say this is xp omega, and this is omega m. This is minus omega m. This is omega s. This is omega s minus omega m. This is omega s plus omega m. Now, as you can see, there is a difference between the placement of the two samples. Let's say this is omega, here it is omega m, and here it is, this point is omega s minus omega m, and this point is omega m. Suppose this difference is very close enough, then what will happen? It will close enough points that two successive bands overlap each other. The case that I am considering here, as you can see now that let's say this is sample 1, and let's say this is sample 2. Similar, this is sample number 3. This is 4. These are the frequency band. This is one band, this is another band, and so on. So now you can see these samples are well apart in the frequency domain. So that suppose we are interested to apply a low pass filter with sufficient cutoff frequency omega c, we can easily reconstruct the signal. But suppose this difference is not so much. These are very close enough such that these, let's say sample 1 and 2 overlap each other. That means omega s is such that the successive bands overlap each other. Let's say once again draw the overlapped version. Now let's say this is omega m, and let's say there is an overlapping. The another band resides here. Similarly, symmetrically, we can write here there is overlapping. They are very close enough such that they have overlapped. The two bands, successive bands, have overlapped each other. So as we know, we can see this point is omega m, this point is omega s minus omega m. We can write these points as this point is omega m, but this point is omega s minus omega m. And of course, this point, this is omega s, and this point, similarly, if this point is minus omega m, then this point is and this point is minus omega s. Similarly, this is minus omega s plus omega m. What we saw here is that when the respective successive bands were fine apart with each other, in this case, if you observe that here omega s minus omega m, that means this point is well greater than the point omega m. That means the sampling frequency is at least greater than 2 omega m, right? That is, omega s is at least greater than 2 omega m to avoid overlapping. of successive bands. But here, what we are observing is that the bands are overlapping. What is happening is that now you can see this point is more close to the origin than omega m. That means omega s minus omega m is less than omega m. That means omega s is less than 2 omega m. When this happens, then what we will do, suppose now if you want, let's say now if we are trying to reconstruct the signal using a low pass filter, on applying a low pass filter, now what we see is that apart from this band, this low pass filter also contains a part or some components of this band as well as of this of the adjacent bands as well. What will happen if this is the case? That means if there is overlapping, you can write it here. If there is overlapping of successive bands, then the reconstructed signal will be distorted. That means we said that for reconstruction of the reconstructed signal must be equal to the actual signal in case of ideal application of the low pass filter. That means we can write here that the reconstructed signal will not be equal to the actual signal. When omega s is less than 2 omega n, that is the sampling frequency is less than the 2 times of the maximum frequency contained in the band limited signal, right? So this phenomenon is known as aliasing. That means when the sampling frequency is less than twice the maximum frequency contained in the signal, then the reconstructed signal from the samples of the original signal, then the reconstructed signal XRT will be distorted and will not be equal to the original signal. So here comes the term sampling theorem. So before that, what is aliasing? When there is overlapping of the successive bands, then the reconstructed signals from the original samples, the reconstructed signal gets distorted and it is not equal to the actual waveform. That means the sampling we have done is not efficient, and that distortion is the phenomenon of distortion resulting from the overlapping of the successive bands is known as aliasing. So finally we can conclude that for or summarize that if the signal is band limited, if the signal is band limited, then one can reconstruct the signal from its samples if the sampling frequency is greater than or equal to the twice of the maximum frequency contained in the signal. And bracketed right on application of low pass filter of low pass filter. And this theorem is known as the sampling theorem. So, what it states that if the signal is band limited, then one can reconstruct the signal from its samples if the sampling frequency is greater than or equal to twice the maximum frequency contained in the signal. And this 2 omega m, which is twice the maximum frequency contained in the signal, is known as Nyquist rate. Another word is known as Nyquist rate. And similarly, 1 by 2 omega m will be called Nyquist interval. This is known as the sampling theorem. So if you want to reconstruct the actual signal from its sample, the sampling frequency must be at least twice the maximum value of the frequency contained in that band limited signal. Now, as we can see, one more thing to understand here that we are trying to apply in order to reconstruct the waveform, we are applying a low pass filter of sufficient cutoff frequency omega c. So, if we observe these 3 points, as in this point, and this point, so we can conclude here is that you can see omega c, it must be less than omega s minus omega m, and it must be greater than omega m. So this is the condition for low pass filtering of the sample signal. So we can write one more point condition for low pass filtering of sample signal. is that if omega c is the cutoff frequency of the low pass filter, so it must be at least greater than and less than omega s minus omega m. You can also write, keep the equality sign here. Equality sign means it will be just able to sample out the signal perfectly. And similarly, sampling theorem states that omega s must be greater than or equal to at least 2 times of omega m. This is the sampling theorem. And 2 omega m is called the Nyquist rate, and similarly 1 by 2 omega m is the Nyquist interval. For example, if any signal xt, let's say it's given by 1 plus cos 400 pi t plus sine 600 pi t. So what frequencies it has got? Omega, it has got one the DC value 0, then 400 pi radian per second and 600 pi radian per second. So if you want to sample out the signal, then according to sampling theorem, omega s, the sampling frequency must be greater than equal to twice the maximum value of the frequency contained in the signal. So here in this case, omega m must be 600 pi radian per second. Then the sampling frequency omega s will be given by 2 into sampling must be greater than equal to 600 pi, that is 1200 pi radian per second. Now we have been consistently speaking that the signal must be the band limited signal. Because why we are telling this? Suppose let's say there is signal xt is equal to, let's say we consider a rectangular function xt, then xt will be given as, if this is the function xt minus 1 to plus 1 to minus 1, this is the rectangular function xt, right? But if you apply the Fourier transform here, then for the rectangular function, its Fourier transform is not band limited. It will be like that. That is x omega. So this is not band limited. Since this is not band limited signal, hence Nyquist rate is undefined. So sampling theorem is only applicable for the band limited signal. So we will continue our discussion. Thank you.